Hey everyone, Tom Armitage here for another expert session. If you're interested in marketing, sales, or specifically how sales and marketing should cohesively work together, then you're in the right place. Just a tiny little bit about me. I'm Tom Armitage. I've been in the B2B marketing space for well over a decade now. I've spent the last 10 years at two different marketing agencies, mostly in account management, but I've recently moved over into the business development side. Prior to that, I had worked at a nonprofit as well as a corporation, and I also spent 8 years in academia where I was an adjunct professor of social media marketing and market research. So I've worked with a lot of B2B companies, in particular, a lot of those on the manufacturing and the industrial side. And they're very, very heavy in sales, and they tend to not always take marketing as seriously. So I think this is a really important topic, and it's a trend that we're starting to see really progress in recent years, where sales and marketing are finding better ways to work together, and it's helping cut down on a lot of fat, a lot of waste. It's helping the organizations be much more efficient, and in the end, is helping to generate more sales. So let's jump into it. Okay, let's begin by talking about why this is even important in the first place. Forrester research states that companies who have sales and marketing teams who are aligned can grow 19% faster than those who don't and are 15% more profitable. And that can make a big difference year over year. The easiest way to describe the issue here at hand is this simple scenario. Give me more leads, says sales. And marketing replies back, what are you talking about? We gave you leads. Here they are. And sales says, no, these are crappy leads. We want better leads. And marketing says, no, they weren't crappy leads. You just need to sell better. And this goes on and on and on. And it leads to a lot of wasted time, a lot of inefficiencies, and a lot of closed loss deals. So what happens is if you unify these teams together through better collaboration, better communication, and unified systems and tools, it can lead to a lot more of an efficient process that takes place between the handoff of leads, the working of those leads, and ultimately leads to more closed deals. So what we're starting to see now is this trend, this progression that's taking place of sales and marketing teams now beginning to collaborate and work better together. And I'm here for it. I love to see it. And a lot of other sales leaders and just executives love to see it too, because it's actually impacting the bottom line and it's leading to better teamwork, and not necessarily in that order. So what we're talking about here over the next 10 to 15 minutes is specifically 5 ways that you can better align your sales and marketing teams. We'll talk about better communication, shared KPIs and metrics. We'll talk about working on buyer personas and building out that target audience. We'll talk about technology and tools, and we'll talk about a service level agreement that needs to exist between sales and marketing. Number 1 is communication. And this is put at number 1 deliberately because it is the most important of the 5. There's some organizations who have very little communication existing between the sales and marketing teams and departments. Even historically, these two teams didn't even sit anywhere close to one another inside of a physical building. Now that we're working in virtual spaces, it's really important to create an environment where these two teams can collaborate with one another with regular ongoing communication and meetings, as well as using tools where that actually facilitates this communication with one another. Organizations that do this well have a deep appreciation for the other's teams and the other team's talents. So one way to do this is through personality types and training, or through Strength Finder training. These type of resources help you to better understand your teammates and what makes them really great at what they do and where they may come up short, and learn how you can best support them. It's really great to share with the other team your strategies. So when marketing develops their strategic plan for the upcoming year and sales develops their sales strategies for the upcoming year, those should be presented to the opposing teams so they can have an understanding and appreciation of what's going to be worked on for the upcoming 12-month period. Budgets. It's mind-blowing to me that budgets aren't shared between these two teams. They're working, and they should be working on the same goals. It is to benefit the bottom line, to improve and increase sales for that organization. Why are we not sharing budgets? Actually break down the sales budget by line item. How much are we spending on certain trade shows? How much are going towards sales material? And Inversely or conversely, what is the marketing budget look like? How much is being put towards Google Ads? How much is being put towards Facebook support? All of these things, all of the line items should be broken down and shared with the opposing team so they can understand where the resources are going, and they can have an understanding of how one team can benefit the other in terms of monetary dollars and monetary support. If there's brainstorming taking place, whether it's generating new campaign ideas or new sales initiatives, this is a collaborative effort. Book these meetings together and have these brainstorming meetings with team members from the other department sitting there and contributing to those conversations. And lastly, processes. What does the process look like when leads come into the system? Technologically or technically, how does the lead get entered into the system? How does it pass into the CRM system? What is marketing doing to actually generate those leads? Whatever the process might look like from marketing standpoint, for demand generation and lead generation and any sort of marketing tactics that's enabling and helping generate leads and supporting sales, sales should be aware of those processes. And vice versa. What does the sales process look like when they receive a lead? How are they working it? What does the discovery meeting look like? How are they taking it from meeting 1 to meeting 2? What do they need to prepare to get ready for meeting 2? These processes should be shared with marketing. Having an understanding, having a deep understanding of what each of the teams go through on a day-to-day basis and how they work and how they operate can benefit the overall organization at the end of the day. Number 2, shared KPIs. KPI stands for Key Performance Indicators, and it's the metrics that we use to help measure the success of our programs. Traditionally, marketing and sales have used separate KPIs to measure the success of their own individual unique programs. But a better way of going about this is to actually have shared KPIs. We can't have a conversation about sales and marketing without looking at the sales funnel. Most organizations have some sort of sales funnel or sales process, and this is where life cycle stages come into play inside of the customer relationship management or CRM system. A lot of times marketing is measuring their success against soft metrics. This might be engagement rates on social media posts, or it could be CPMs or impressions on ads. Now they will measure conversions, but a lot of times that's simply top of funnel conversions. And it might be just the lead being generated itself. That could be a form fill, it could be a phone call, it could be a live chat conversation. As they receive those leads, they may weed out the spam and they may dub that as an MQL or a marketing qualified lead. They then pass that off to sales. Sales may do a little bit of initial research, and then they may mark it as an SQL or a sales qualified lead. They then begin working that lead. If they realize that it is a viable opportunity, they'll mark it inside of the system as opportunity. They continue to work it, and at the end of the day, it then either results in closed won business, where that person becomes a customer, or closed lost business, which means they're not a customer now, but maybe they will be in the future. By looking at the life cycle stages, you can probably see that this is where the argument we talked about a few minutes usually occurs. If sales is struggling to close business, they may blame marketing and say the quality of those leads weren't good enough. Where marketing, their main concern is just filling that pipeline, filling that top of funnel, and they say, well, we gave you those leads. This is the issue here. A better solution is agreeing on KPIs. And in most cases, that mutually agreed upon KPI that's going to make the biggest difference is revenue and closed won business. If both teams are looking at closed won business and you're optimizing your programs and your campaigns around closed won business and revenue, it's going to make both teams get along better, and it's going to make your efforts more worthwhile because you're optimizing around real business results. Number 3, buyer personas. Everything we do in sales and everything we do in marketing should always be about the target audience. It's always been this way, and it always will be this way. Buyer personas are usually detailed profiles or documents that actually list everything that you need to know about your ideal customer and what makes them motivated to buy. The problem is a lot of times these buyer personas are developed by marketing inside of a vacuum without any collaboration with sales. And that's crazy. Your salespeople are the ones on the front lines dealing with the buyers and trying to influence them and get them to buy. What should go into buyer persona development is the marketing team looking at secondary data, what already exists out there on the web, about these potential customers. Carry out primary data, surveys, polls, questionnaires. Get information and feedback directly from potential buyers. Look at your own data, your Facebook analytics, your Google analytics, any other systems or softwares that you have or databases you have where you can look at different types of demographics and psychographic and other types of information that you may have access to. And finally, carry out your depth interviews. These will give you rich, deep insight as to what motivates the buyers, what goes into their thought process, where are their pain points, and what are their needs as it relates to your products and your services. And the salespeople need to be involved in this process. They're on the front lines and they're dealing with the customers. Get together with your salespeople, and both marketing and sales together should have these conversations and work together to build out the buyer persona profiles. Once they're produced, don't neglect them. Don't store them on a shelf or inside of a folder, inside of a folder, inside of a folder. You need to always reference these and look back at these personas and these profiles when you're carrying out any future marketing campaign, and sales should reference them as well when they're carrying out their sales initiatives. Number 4, tech stack. These are the software and the tools that you have at your disposal to get the job done. In sales and marketing, there are a ton of software that exists today. So we'll only focus on 3 categories for the sake of this presentation. We have CRM and automation, we have lead intelligence, and we have project management. Customer relationship management, or your CRM tool, is typically used by sales that it contains all the information that you need to know about a potential buyer or about a customer and the communication that you have with him or her. Marketing automation tools usually have features like email, the ability to segment lists, the ability to run smart lists, build landing pages, blog, create call to action buttons, and even schedule out social media posts. So what's happened over the years is these tools have really become one. Think of a HubSpot. HubSpot was built as an email and a marketing automation platform, and eventually grew to where they've added sales CRM capabilities. And this is a wonderful thing, because in keeping all of that data intact and all of that data together, you can have, as a marketer, the appreciation of what goes on the sales side, and sales can have an appreciation of what goes on in the marketing side. It's not just enough to deploy and use that tool, but sales and marketing needs to come to an understanding of how each are using the tool together and how they can support one another and using that tool as one. Second is lead intelligence. Lead intelligence tools help identify businesses that are coming onto your website before they convert. It's a great complementary tool to a marketing automation tool. Sales needs to understand what this tool can do and how it can help fill the pipeline. By identifying businesses that are visiting, knowing where they came from, knowing how long they spent, knowing what pages they were on, it can really arm sales with a lot of extra intel when they go to make that first initial call or email with a prospect. This is usually a tool that marketing is purchasing, but they need to help educate sales on what its capabilities are, and you need to train them on maximizing the value of that investment in that tool. And third is project management. I'm a huge fan of project management tools because it really helps cut down on the clutter of random conversations, random meetings. It helps cut down on the number of emails, internal emails being sent back and forth to one another. By building out your projects, by building out your tasks, by assigning it to the right team member, and having much better collaboration that existing between sales and marketing, and having those conversations aligned to the right task and project, it can help make for a much more efficient organization and the communication that exists between teams. So these are 3 tools that you not only should make an investment in purchasing, but you need to make sure that both teams understand the capabilities of those tools and are using them in the same way. Finally, we come to number 5, and that's developing an SLA, or a service level agreement. A service level agreement is a formal document that exists which holds 2 parties accountable. A lot of times that is between a buyer and a seller, but in this case, it's internal and it's between 2 departments, sales and marketing. That SLA should indicate the people that are on those teams, their roles and their responsibilities, and how they're going to hold each other accountable for each of their work and each of their efforts. It should include the software that's going to be used and how that software should be used by each team. It should also include how frequent there's going to be meetings and if and when there's going to be a feedback loop provided. That feedback loop should include sales sitting on marketing meetings and having appreciation of what goes on the marketing side. And it should also allow for marketing to sit in on sales calls so they can understand what goes into the sales process and they can experience firsthand the pains or the pushback that a buyer might have as to why he or she is not ready to make a purchase of that product or service. There needs to be an establishment of what reports should look like, what KPIs will be measured against, and how often those reports will be put together and will be reviewed. Basically, everything that we've talked about here today should be documented, and that way both teams have an understanding and an expectation of the role that they're going to play to support the other team. Recent research has shown that buyers are doing 50 to 70% of the research before they reach out to a business or brand. 50 to 70% of their research is done before they make contact with the business itself. That means that marketing is equally as responsible for making a sale, if not more responsible for making a sale than the actual sales team. Think about that. In knowing that stat, we can have an appreciation that marketing and sales can and should be working together to make sales happen within an organization. Maybe you've heard the term smarketing before. It's the cohesion of sales and marketing together. And as more and more companies take smarketing seriously, it will reap the benefits of having more closed-won business. I hope this talk has been beneficial to you. And if you work within an organization, primarily a B2B organization, hopefully you can instill some of these best practices to get your sales and marketing teams working better together. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn at Thomas J. Armitage. See you soon.